Okay. I was like sitting here thinking about like what I was going to talk to you about, and I'm like, I don't know anything about you.
Oh, well, yay.
And also, you're my first celebrity quilter, so
Oh,
I'm so
well,
excited.
that's a big word, but thank you.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. You're very popular in the Instagram world, but also your quilt patterns are just like to die for. And
Thank
so,
you.
and I love that we did pink hair today.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so jealous.
Yep.
It's
All pink.
fabulous. It's fabulous. So like, why don't you start from the beginning? Like, just like say your name, like your what you're called on Instagram, because like everybody at the store just calls you Kindred Quilt Co.
Yes.
So,
Fun story. I've had multiple
tell me.
people come up to me and be like, "Hey, Kindred." And I'm like, "Not my name." Fun.
Okay, so tell everybody who you are.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christina with Kindred Quilt Co. And I am a quilter. And I've grown a super fun following on Instagram, which has been amazing. But yeah, I love quilting and I love designing patterns.
How did you get into quilting? Like, and also because you're young, you're fun, you're like cool, hip. Like, how did this happen?
Okay. So if 20 years ago you'd have asked me if I was going to be quilting and my favorite color would have been pink and I'd be a mom, I would have laughed at you. So, um, it's definitely different than how I envisioned my life when I was like younger, but here we are. So, from the very beginning, in 2014, I was pregnant with my son.
Okay, so you're pregnant with your son. You were 12. All right, got it.
No, I
I'm
was
just
not
kidding.
12.
You were, you
I
do
look
not
a
look
lot
old enough.
younger. I look
Yes.
younger than I am. Well, I was like, wait, what? No. But yeah, I was trying to find a way to make money to support my family. My income was not enough to justify daycare costs because daycare costs were outrageous. And so I needed a way to make money. And I also wanted beautiful Pinterest bedding for his nursery, and I definitely couldn't afford that. And I'm born with the like, how hard can it be gene, you know? So I was like,
Love.
I'm gonna sew, and I didn't even have a sewing machine at the time. But I was like, I'm going to sew baby bedding for him. And so I made all of his baby bedding by hand, like with the needle and thread.
No,
Yes.
you piece together the bedding by hand.
Yes, so like the crib sheet with the elastic through it, I did his whole quilt by hand. I was very much pregnant and very nesting,
Yeah,
and
and
yeah,
determined.
and very determined. But it ended up turning out like it was a lot better than I had expected it to be. And my husband was even like, you should make these and sell them." And I was like, "You're right, I should." And so I started. I was gifted a sewing machine from my grandma, and I taught myself how to use it, and I made quilts, and I posted them on Etsy, and I sold one, and then I sold another, and it's just slowly, very slowly grown from there. So,
That's wild. So you're
yeah.
pregnant with your first child, you hand sew all this like bed crib stuff together. Did you do like a ruffle or anything when you were doing that?
No,
Or because
n-
yeah.
yeah, he's a boy, but I mean,
Yeah.
ruffles can be for anybody. But no, it was just very simple, very basic. But for a long time, I made baby bedding on Etsy, and that was
Okay.
always my favorite, was like the pinks and the ruffles and the florals, because I didn't really do that with my son. So yeah, that's how it started out.
But so what year was that? Was that 2014 you said?
Mm-hmm.
There
2014?
wasn't like a huge quilting following on Instagram yet. It was
No. So
still pretty like new, right?
yeah, I joined Instagram. I actually looked at it the other day, in 2016. So
Okay.
it had been a couple years, and I mostly just joined to share what I was making and see if other people were making similar things. And there was not a very big group on there. And back in those times, which really wasn't that long ago. But
Things just
uh,
happen so fast now.
yeah, a lot of quilters were doing like mini quilt swaps. So like
Hmm.
there would be a host and somebody would partner people together, and then sometimes it was a secret, sometimes it wasn't, and you would make a mini quilt for somebody, and it could be all over the world, all over the US. And so I did a couple swaps, um, and I ended up taking a really long hiatus from Instagram for a little while, but when I came back, it was like this whole new beast. Like there were so many quilters. It had 2020 had really grown.
And imploded. It was like
Yes.
this huge, crazy thing that just happened all of a sudden that was almost like I I want to say that I predicted this a long time ago, like when I was not the COVID part. Oh my gosh, no.
Oh no,
But like,
nobody.
no, but the like the blow up of like quilting and everything. Back when I went to my first quilt con in Pasadena, and I was like, I always thought quilting was like could be really young and cool and hip and like different, and not even just young, like I mean like age wise. I mean, like different than like you're like people sitting around like what everybody thinks quilting is, like hand
Right.
sewing together. Because there's some really fascinating, interesting people that make quilts all ages. But I
Yes.
went to my first quilt con and I was like, it's happening. I can't believe it. It's
What
happening.
year
Like
was that? Was that like
it was,
2018
I want to say,
or
okay,
before that?
Pasadena, it may have been, it was before then, like maybe 2016 or
Okay.
17, whatever year Pasadena was that year. I was getting ready to meet some friends in LA for a weekend, and I was like, I have to go to this thing called QuiltCon. I know it sounds crazy. And they were like, there's a QuiltCon, and everybody was like losing
Yes.
their minds over that. But I've progressively seen like more and more since I've been in the industry my whole life. Like I used to tell people what my parents did or my grandparents did growing up, and everybody thought that was like so obscure and different, right? Now I tell people, and I'm sure you too, like, oh yeah, we sell sewing machines, and people are like, I want to learn to quilt, or and they call it quilting, or I want to learn to sew. I've always wanted to learn. Like, isn't that wild to see the progression of this in like the past, even just few years since the pandemic?
Yes. Yes. One second, we have a kid at our door. Let me go tell him. Not right now. Hold on.
And mom.
Hey, buddy, he can't play right now. Oh. Yeah.
Um, we're
Okay, we're
definitely
back.
leaving that. We're definitely leaving that in.
Okay. Yeah, it's real life. Sorry, buddy. I told my son I was like, no friends for like 45 minutes is all I need.
How old is? Do you just have one son?
Yes, he's 9, and
Okay.
our house has become the house where all the kids come and play, which I love that.
Yeah.
Um, I want to love on all the kids, and I want to make cakes for them all on their birthdays. And
You're
but
like
I just
all
need
things
45 minutes.
domestic. Yeah.
Oh
Mom
my
needs
God.
45 minutes, please.
Yeah.
So when do you sew then? When are you quilting?
Okay, so my husband and I share an office, and
Okay.
half of it is dedicated to my sewing, and half is dedicated to his video games. And these two hobbies are so good together because we love spending time with each other. We're both introverts, so we like to be home. We love spending time with each other, but like watching TV can get old, and I like to quilt, and he likes to play video games. So we just put on a podcast together and we hang out while we're playing and sewing, and it's a it's our bonding time. So
So
it
like after
helps
your
that it's
son
at night.
goes to sleep, like you guys aren't like Netflixing or anything. You're quilting, he's
Yeah.
gaming, and you guys are just hanging out together. That actually
Yes.
sounds ideal. You
It's
have
so
both have
fun.
your own hobbies. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love that.
And
So
well, we're night owls too, so like we stay up way too late, but they were
when are
hard.
you okay, so tell me how your business or how like you progress from okay, you're doing these like mini quilt along swaps. You're doing like your Instagram's coming along, you took a little hiatus. Like when did you start like writing your own patterns and that kind of thing?
So this requires a little bit of backstory. So while I was getting on Instagram and I was doing my swaps, I was making baby bedding on Etsy, and I started doing pretty much only crib sheets, and my business exploded. So it was extremely successful. Etsy really helped propel my business, and that allowed me the time to stay home. I was bringing enough income that I was able to quit my job, um, and my son started going to school in like 2018, and so that just really helped. My Instagram hadn't grown, but my business on Etsy was like thriving. And so once I got the hang of like, okay, I can run a business. I can actually run a business. I'm doing it. And my mom's a furniture refinisher, so she owns her own business. So I've seen like this business, the behind the scenes of running a business pretty much
The
my whole life. So I,
entrepreneurial aspect of it.
yes.
Yeah.
So that really helped. Then I took, like I said, a hiatus from Instagram. And when I came back, it was only because it was COVID. I had no plans of doing quilt patterns. By then, my making crib sheets had pretty much stalled, just because it was COVID and we were staying home, and I didn't need the extra income at the time. And so,
Yeah.
um, so I just started making quilts again and selling them, and just doing quilts because that's like my love. I was kind of tired of doing crib sheets. And then
Yeah.
that just slowly progressed into me wanting to design my own patterns, or I was looking for things that I couldn't find in a pattern. And so I posted them. People were like, you should sell this. I was like, okay, I will. And then it's just slowly grown. So, um, but the last 2 years have been insane.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
like that's when I really start. I remember you coming to the quilt show long ago, and I was like, okay, who's the
Hmm.
cool girl with the pink hair? And then I needed to know about it. And then your Instagram's just kind of taken off, really. Like
Yeah.
what's going on there? Like how is that happening?
Man, I wish I could give everybody just a secret formula of this is how
Yeah.
you do it. But it honestly, the thing that really changed for me in my Instagram is learning who I was as a quilter, as an artist, as becoming confident in that. For a long time, I had tried to use color palettes and fabrics that I thought other people would like because I was so focused on selling them, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it just didn't feel like me. Um, but kept making, kept experimenting, I slowly started to care less about what other people thought, and then I was just super happy with it. And then once that clicked in my head, is that's when I started noticing growth. I was being more intentional, more
Hmm.
transparent. I was truly trying to make community with these people, and I guess it was received well. So it's not at all what I was expecting. It's not what I intended to start doing, but it just has slowly grown, which is awesome.
One of my favorite things about your like well you in general is I really love, and I would say you hit the nail on the head when you said this, like when you started being like true to yourself, like your Instagram is I don't even think it's like intentionally perfectly curated, but it's like all the colors that you use, especially since meeting you. I think it's just who you are. Like you love these bright colors that mix
Yes,
together, the pinks and the oranges. Like it's so fun. And I love that about your own social media page because I think it's really, really, like, no, if someone else tried to copy that, it would be like, that's like what your thing is already. Like, not already, but it's
thanks.
very you. It's very authentic to, especially meeting you in real life. You're very bubbly and fun
Bubbly. Yeah.
and yeah.
I get that question a lot though. Like, how do I like make my page look cohesive? And I'm like, I mean, I like taking pretty pictures, so that helps. I love photography. But I don't like plan out my posts in advance. I just I know what I like, and it's very the same to me, and so I think that translates well on a feed.
Well, it's beautiful. And I think if you know what you like and then you're executing that really well, then you're not trying to be someone else. You're just being you. And I think like you said, that always comes across. That's always like the question I get too about like how do I like not just quilting, but people that have their own businesses like with embroidery and stuff like that. They always ask
Hmm.
me like, how do I get people into this? Like what should I sell? What should I do? And I'm like, you should just do what you like because if you like
Yes.
it, it'll come across much more authentic and not like you're
Yes.
trying to be something you're not. And I think that translates to quilting too. People come in all the time asking us to help them like pick fabrics and things like that for maybe like a grandkid or their first quilt they're making, and I'm like, just pick what you like.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
gonna
know.
look good. If you have like all the fabrics that you like, I don't think it can look bad. Like I
No,
have the opinion that there's no two colors that don't go well together. You can make them go well together if you like it enough. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so when you first started designing quilts, were you using like the traditional like EQ program to
No.
design, or what were you doing?
Absolutely not. Okay, so I just recently, like this last year, got Adobe InDesign, and I really, really like that. But my first pattern I designed on Canva, and I had
Okay.
no idea what I was doing. Not a clue. And I think I have that. How hard can it be, Jean? Right? So I figured it out. It took me a million hours. It was not fun to write. And this pattern, if you look at it, I think it's like 28 pages. But and I used the free version
Doable.
of Canva.
I
So
honestly feel like it would be harder to do in Canva than anything else. I don't even know how
so
you did
hard. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And even crazier is I designed it on my phone. So I didn't even use a
Stop.
computer. I used my phone and it was so hard. Um, and like I said, I spent way too long on it. I made sure all the lines, because they don't snap, like lines don't
No.
snap together. So I had to like pixel by pixel line up all these little squares and colored, and it was awful. Don't design patterns in Canva. Just don't do it.
No.
At least not the
No.
free version. And
Yeah. Maybe get an
yeah,
iPad or something
yeah.
at least.
But that
Okay.
exactly. But that pattern ended up doing well, and so then I justified. I was like, okay, I can use better programs now. So I use Adobe InDesign.
I'm an InDesign girly too. I know like a few people that I know also use Illustrator. I feel like they're the same thing, just
Yeah.
different places for the buttons or the different tools. But I love InDesign because you can snap together and stuff like that. I will be
Hmm.
honest, I have never designed a quilt before. Ever. Never.
Well,
I not my not I have
it's
no
not
idea how
easy.
y'all do it. And I've been around people that have been pattern testing and things like that as well. And like, bless people that can figure that out because I know if like you're writing a pattern, you're writing it from your perspective and your point
Right.
of view, right? So that's the whole point of like the pattern tester. Can you explain that a little bit to people that would like be listening to this that have no idea what I mean right now?
Yeah, so as a designer, I will design a quilt pattern, and then I haven't used testers yet, but typically, especially larger pattern designers, they will send out the pattern to somebody to test it. So they get the pattern for free. Sometimes these testers are paid, um, sometimes they're paid in exposure, which
That's
that's
a
why I
whole
haven't,
other route.
yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
thing. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why I haven't um used testers yet. Because I'd love to find a way to pay them for their work, you know?
Totally.
Um but yeah, so these testers will test the pattern and then provide feedback to the designer, like, hey, I'm a beginner quilter and none of this made sense. Or I am an advanced quilter and you could have made this maybe a little easier to understand. So you get a bunch of different perspectives on your pattern. So the end result is a really well-rounded pattern that has no errors, which is very important, and is appropriate for, I guess, the level or the difficulty that you're wanting to release the pattern at.
So even more impressive that you're not using testers yet for these patterns and your patterns are so well received. You must be like an extreme perfectionist on the inside and you
Uh,
don't realize it.
Maybe. Well, I did
Yeah.
pattern testing for a really long time.
Did
So,
you?
yes. And so that helps. I know what I'm looking for whenever I'm reviewing my pattern, but I have started using a tech editor, which a tech editor
Okay.
is similar. They just review the pattern for errors. They're not necessarily making the quilt. Um,
Okay.
so if there are major errors, it might not get caught, or you might not be able
That's
to
very
see it in a
interesting.
different colorway, but a tech editor will just edit the pattern and let you know if there's typos or, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So when you're releasing these patterns, are you self-releasing your patterns, like, or are you going through like a publisher yet? Ideas of
No.
books, anything like
Yeah.
that?
Oh man. I mean, that would be so cool. Definitely not on my radar. I feel like it's weird. Imposter syndrome, right? So I
Hmm.
feel like I'm running a business. I'm making it, like I'm supporting my business. I'm not losing money. So that's nice. But sometimes I like look at that and I'm like, there's so much more I could be doing. My last pattern release was February. And so I've had plans to release another, but I haven't been able to get around to it. And so sometimes I'm like eating myself up, right? Because I'm like,
Hmm.
there's so much I could be doing, or I see these other people that are doing it the right way. And I'm like, there's no way I can be on that level. But I have to get out of that mindset because who knows?
You have
Um,
to. You should watch my interview with my girlfriend Allie. She's the one that
Allie
she's got
K.
the yes.
Yes, I
I don't
saw
know
it.
if you
Yeah.
she says like I hate when people say fake it till you make it because like I just like don't believe in that. She's like just do it, right? And I think
Yes.
Allie like deals a little bit with like imposter syndrome sometimes too. I think
Yes.
any artist goes through that because it's like it's hard to see what you're creating and like wonder how it's going to be, interpreted or received by other people. But there's a reason that you guys have large followings and that people really like what you do. It's just like that. The hardest part is like convincing yourself that that's real, I
Yeah.
suppose.
And
And that's why I hate Instagram.
yeah, yeah, that's the bad
It's a
part
love
about it.
hate.
Yeah, and what's funny is once you get on the other side of that imposter syndrome, like let's say you've done the thing that you wanted to do, you always look back and you're like, why was I so silly? Like I didn't even need to worry about it. But to answer your question, no, I'm not using a publisher. No plans for books. I mean, if it happened, woo, I'd love that. But no, I'm just releasing my patterns just on Etsy. I'm still using Etsy. Hopefully, I can get off Etsy soon.
How do you feel about Etsy? I had a long combo with Terrence about Etsy. So you're still on Etsy.
Uh,
That was going to be my next
yes.
question.
So I have a love-hate relationship with Etsy because it has done so much for me.
Hmm.
It has given me the opportunity to stay home. I was able to quit my job. At the time when I started Etsy, it was the most competitive place to sell items. I think the commission rate was like 3.5%, and then a listing fee was
Wow.
20 cents, and that was it. So like there weren't extra fees attached. It was a curated platform specifically for handmade people. So when people want a handmade item, they can look. Unfortunately, I feel, it's my opinion, that Etsy has sort of sold out to like drop shippers and non-handmade items. And it's just it the what is handmade, right? What does that mean? They've really broadened that. And so for
Totally.
true handmade, true small businesses, you just kind of get lost in these. I mean,
Yeah,
if somebody wants to be
I
price their
agree.
item as low as they want, they have every right to do that, and they're going to sell what you're selling before you because you can't be competitive.
It's almost become a little bit like eBay-ish to
Yes.
me. Like before I knew if I went on Etsy like looking to support like a local like a or a small like jewelry maker or something like that. Now when you go look, it's like all of the different just like things coming from like overseas that
Yes.
aren't like small handmade and I can only imagine that's even happening more with like quilting, like people just selling like, cheaply made quilts or like not
Or
handmade.
mass-produced patterns that are either
Yeah.
copies or yeah, I try to filter my Etsy searches by so if you go, you can filter by shop in the United States, but you can also filter it by your local state. And so that usually when I filter by like just Texas, it helps give me a more local um, group of sellers, and I'm helping
Okay.
another Texas seller. But not a lot of people do that, and sometimes the items aren't,
I never
you
thought
know,
of that. That's a great
yeah,
suggestion, actually, too, especially
yeah,
if you want to support like someone in your area, which I agree. Wow.
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Everybody, that's a good takeaway from this interview.
do it.
Support your local. What
Yes.
so is the goal to get just onto like your website, like more so sell on there, less on the Etsy?
Yes, and it helps that my husband, so he's a software engineer, but he has this like heart for designing web pages. And so I do have a website. It just doesn't have shop capabilities yet. So I'm
Yet.
hoping that in the future, it's kind of like his pet project slash portfolio too. So when he gets that up and running, then I'll probably just pull. I might keep everything on Etsy just 'cause, but I'll start
Yeah.
linking everything to my page instead of my Etsy.
Terrence was telling me like I think Etsy now does this thing where if it goes onto like a Google search or that it pulls from the Google search, they're taking even more now or something.
Yes. So they've automatically enrolled everybody in everybody. You don't have the option to opt out unless you make, I think it's unless you make under a certain amount or over a certain amount. I can't remember. I think it's under a certain amount after a year. But they automatically enroll everybody in their Google ads. And so if someone searches on Google and Etsy pops up and they click on it, it takes a huge percentage. I think, I don't want to say a wrong percentage, but I want to say it's like 15% or 20%.
Wow.
It's a big percentage. And especially for like if you have a small item like small earrings,
Yeah.
or one of my patterns is only $3. Well, my digital goods are different, but like an actual like a headband like Terrence makes, if they're cheap, like priced
15
affordably,
bucks. Yeah.
yeah, and that big percentage comes out, plus you have your fees, plus you have the cost of your goods. You're losing money on this item. And it's really unfortunate that there's no way to like automatically opt out. I get from a business perspective, I get why Etsy's doing it to like bring more people to Etsy, but it's just hurting sellers. Like nobody likes this, not one.
No.
I don't know a single person that likes this.
I haven't had a good conversation with anybody about Etsy, unfortunately. Even like
Yeah.
everybody that comes into the store, I'm always like, "How do you like it?" And they make this face like, I'm like, "All right."
Yeah.
I
I,
maybe we should band together. Do you know of any like other platforms that people are selling on besides Etsy?
So I actually just saw an ad. It's been around for a while. I had no idea. Michael's has a handmade marketplace.
Really?
Michael's like this store. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw an ad for it. So I was gonna look into that. I know Amazon Handmade has one. And then there's a few other like not very popular ones, which you can post on there, but it doesn't have the name recognition that Etsy has. And so it's just I don't know. I like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with it because I love that it gave me this platform. I have a platform to sell on, but at this point
Yeah.
it's not competitive with just like Stripe or even like, Wix. Like you can make your own website
Sure.
and
Shopify, anything like that.
Shopify. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cheaper at this
Yeah.
point, and so it's just hard.
So, talk to me a little bit about the quilting community in general, like highs, lows, favorite.
I love
You're
the
like, nope,
quilting community. Yeah,
I
only good
like
things.
well, of course, and
Yeah.
there's all different aspects of the quilting community,
Yes.
but I know that there are so many people looking to like get into the community, but maybe one of the things that we love about sewing is it's an at-home hobby. Like I'm a homebody, so we love that it's an at-home hobby. But now, especially since COVID, we have all these great like different online communities that people have built, and just like friend groups and all kinds of stuff that are all virtual. So tell me a little bit about that and like do it from a perspective where if someone was listening to this and they've always wanted to get into quilting, but they're scared to, like, where would you go look first? Like, what would you do?
So, like I said before, when I had taken my hiatus from Instagram and then I came back, I think I had like 800 followers when I came back, which is
Wow.
that's a lot, but it's a lot for like at
No,
that time
it's,
because a lot of them
yeah.
it's grown a lot. Yeah, it's grown a lot. Because I came back in 2020, but um it was 800 people. I had no idea who they were. Like, they had been following me from when I was doing baby bedding, and so when I came back to Instagram, I felt like so fresh. I felt so weird posting things. It seemed like so many people already knew each other, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna share. Hi, I'm inserting myself. Like,
Hello.
yeah, hi, I'm me. You don't know me. I've been here for a while, but um, so that's what it felt like. And sometimes that can be really discouraging, right? Because you see all these like great relationships that are already established on Instagram, or in this community. And I think that translates to really anything, like a quilt guild
Sure.
meeting or like anything really.
Yeah.
So it felt very weird posting, but I just posted. And then as an introvert, it's very hard, but I wanted a community of people. So I would just reach out to people and be like, hey, I'm new, or I don't know, I like what you make and you should check out my stuff, and just trying to interact with people. And I don't know about other online communities, but the Instagram quilting community is so accepting for the most part. They're so
Yeah.
encouraging and uplifting, and can't wait. Like, everyone's so eager to tell you how great this thing you made is, or how much they love it, or you should sell that. Like, everybody's so encouraging. And that is just it's a gift that I was able
Absolutely.
to find this community when I did.
Isn't it a little wild? And I can say this as a shop owner that the shop experience is not always the same as that online experience that you guys are getting.
Man, no. Well, I guess like it depends. I don't know. I really don't know because um like there are some like shops that have a huge following, but
Yeah.
but um but I guess it's because they're selling like products. I don't know if it's just products or if it's like making things. I have no idea, but that's actually like a really good question to ask my followers. Like if
Yeah.
they
When
if they notice that.
Well, I hear a lot of people like when they say they go to like their LQS, their local quilt shop, right? Like some people like hate going to their local quilt shop. They've just quit going altogether because the
Yeah.
experience is poor. I hate that. Or they just shop online because like they don't have a shop that has like cool fabrics or anything like that.
Hmm.
And so I know that's really hard. That's like one of the things that when I opened the store, I was like, all right, we're going to do things completely different. Like we're
Yes.
not going to judge anybody that walks in. We're not going to say like, "Oh, are you here to, pick up your grandma's machine?" We hear that happen all the time, like at
Oh
other
no.
stores. People are like, "No, it's mine," or like, there
You're
people don't
young.
get spoken to. Exactly. People don't get spoken to sometimes, like in stores by people that are, working there. And my whole goal when I opened the store was like, I knew the online community was growing and I knew you guys were all like really knitting together to not use that in a punny way, but I knew everybody was like really knitting to like really like coming together like as a close community. And I was like, I want to build a store that feels like that too, where it's not just like when you go in, people like don't talk to you or they're not curious or interested in what you're doing. And so it's been a little bit challenging because the normal what's the norm of quilt shops is like just open the door at 9, close at 5, and then like leave it at that basically.
Yeah.
And I've been like really stretching hard to try to like get more of a reach with like everybody and not just the people that the industry like the big people in the industry are telling me like target these people. I'm like, no, everybody sews now. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Well, for starters, that's why I like your store so much. I love your store. It feels very different. I've had so many bad experiences at local quilt shops. Um, I feel like I'm unwanted or I don't know what I'm doing when I walk in, and I don't like lumping them all together, but
No.
that's just how it feels. Or, I mean, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, a lot of local quilt shops just sell more traditional fabrics and
Yeah.
they bring in more traditional quilters, and I'm not a traditional quilter.
No.
And I think a lot of younger quilters, especially the ones that are on the Instagram quilting community, they're also not traditional quilters. And
Mm-mm.
so as for a whole, most local quilt shops just aren't going to bring the vibe, bring the fabrics, bring the stuff that I'm going to want. And so it's hard to go to a local quilt store. It's just so much
Yeah.
easier for me to just go online and shop. But that's what I like about your shop so much is that
Oh,
it feels different. It feels fun, but then that also presents another challenge for you is there's not a lot of young quilters in the DFW area. There are a
they're
lot of it's growing. I feel like I'm meeting more and more people every day that sew. Um, but I know a lot of people that sew occasionally and aren't like on fire for sewing or on fire for quilting. And so I think I think that that might be, I don't know, maybe that's like it's I don't know. What's your clientele like
okay. So
demographics?
this is hilarious. You'll laugh at this. My boyfriend likes to play this game where we'll be like, out at like Eatsies or something, and he'll just randomly ask people, "Do you sew?" And I don't know why well, first of all, my boyfriend makes documentary films for a living, so he just will talk to anybody where I'm like, yeah, don't talk to anyone. So we were at a cafe and we're sitting there waiting for our coffee, and he looks over at this girl who is maybe like 30 years old next to us, and she's with her girlfriend drinking some coffee. And he goes, "Do you sew?" And she looked at him like she was going to kill him. And I was like, oh God, he has offended somebody. I was like freaking out. And she looks at him, she goes, "I quilt." And I was like, oh, we've got one.
Oh,
Because
how
she,
funny.
she corrected him from sewing to quilting. I was like, that's a big deal. Like,
Yeah, it is.
because people that quilt aren't like, they don't call themselves sewers, they call themselves quilters. And sometimes
Yep,
people piece, but they don't quilt. And then we
yep,
went to like this whole thing. But she was younger and she's like, I've actually never been to a local quilt shop before. I buy
yep.
everything online. And not only was she a quilter, but she didn't have big following, but every single picture on her Instagram page was like of her quilts. And I was like, she's a real quilter. Like, she's very
How,
into it.
ooh, I want to find this
Um,
person.
yeah,
There's not a lot.
she lives in Fort Worth. Her name's Hannah.
Okay.
There's actually a shop, Hollis Threads out
Uh-huh.
towards Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so Jennifer's younger. She bought her long arm from me. She's super cool. Her and her mom do it.
Yes.
I
I
love
love
her.
their shop. I've been there
Yeah.
multiple times. They did a cookie class and I took one of they had like a cookie decorating class where like they brought in somebody to teach you how to decorate sugar cookies. So fun.
She's so
Um,
cool. I love Jennifer.
I used to live out there, near, is she near Azle? No, it's like, I can't remember the city.
West of Fort Worth. I forget
Yeah,
where what it
it's
is.
off 820.
Saginaw?
Um, it's close to Saginaw. That's where we used to live.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. But
My
yeah,
demographic
so
is everyone. I don't know, like who like it's 12 we have 12-year-olds that are learning to sew on TikTok now. We've
yes,
got
so
I mean
cool.
that's huge. Sewing on TikTok is huge. I don't go on
Yes,
TikTok because I would become an addict and I try not to do that. But
you should
sewing
do
on
it.
TikTok's huge.
You should do
Are you on
it.
TikTok? Are you on
I
TikTok?
I am, and I've been posting some things, and it's just wild how much more reach my videos get on TikTok than on Instagram. Three
That's
times the
wild.
reach, and I don't have nearly the following.
Okay, I'm gonna go follow you on TikTok after this.
Okay. The reach on
Um,
TikTok is wild.
but tons of sewing. I mean, TikTok's So Talk, as I call it, is
Yeah.
huge. It's huge. So that's really like boosted like a whole new group of people. And like even, my boyfriend lives in LA, and so I'll be like walking around cool stores in LA and they have quilts hanging on the wall. And I'm like, I look at the price tag. There was this quilt hanging at this vintage shop in LA and it was like $1,800. I was like,
Wow.
what? I was losing my
I'm
mind.
actually
But
surprised that there's quilt shops in LA. I don't know why. That surprises
no,
me.
not quilt shops, vintage
Just
stores
quilt. Oh,
selling
oh.
quilts. Yeah, I haven't seen. Now, I think
That's
there's quilters in LA, but they're not going to. It would have to be a store like mine or something like that to like
sure.
make it in LA because people here are just not going to a store. They all stay like in their little bubbles. But yeah, I think that's what's so cool about the sewing community in general is it's like it can change at like the drop of a dime,
Sure.
and it's always changing, it's always integrating new people. I That's what I love about it. It's for everyone. There's no specific human that would quilt
Yep.
or would make clothes or anything. It's everybody's into it, and it feels like it's just getting bigger and bigger, and it's so exciting to be a part of, don't you think?
Yes, I love it. And I love the reaction I get from people when I'm like, I'm a quilter, and they're like a grandma or something. And I'm like, no, you have no idea. And then I show them my Instagram and they're like, what? Like, I love that
And then they're
reaction. And
jealous.
yes, and well, and it's just so fun. Like, so I'm getting my tangent. I'm getting my first tattoo in a few weeks,
Yeah,
and
nice.
I went to have my consultation with the tattoo artist, and I had messaged her on my business account, which I did not mean to do, but she was like, I was looking at your stuff. It's so pretty. And I was like, oh, yeah, I sew. And, I was just making it not a big deal. And she was like, I sew. And I was like, no way. And she's young. And I was like, I don't know anybody who sews. Like, not really.
See?
So I really do think that more and more people are coming into quilting and sewing, and it's becoming a younger and younger hobby.
Yep,
I think just handmade stuff in general is, millennials and younger are just really into expressing themselves through art and through however
totally.
it is that they do it. And I'm so excited to be a part of that.
Okay, wait, is your tattoo sewing related?
No, but I do want to get a sewing one. I really, really do. I'm getting a right here a half of a butterfly, and my best friend's
Fun.
getting the other half. And so when we hold hands, it'll make our
Oh,
butterfly together.
I
So
love that.
she's my
Um,
long distance bestie of 21 years, which
no way. Where does she
yeah,
live?
in Indiana.
Okay, and you're from Indiana, right?
No, I'm from here, so she moved away from me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
So are you guys going to the same tattoo artist?
Yeah, she's coming down to visit me. And so I was like,
Oh
let's do
my
it. I'm gonna
God.
find the artist. Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yep.
Um, One thing you should do, so my boyfriend makes docs on artists, and I
Okay.
think especially dealing with like imposter syndrome, it would really be helpful for you to watch this one. It's called Beauty is Embarrassing. It's about actually the artist behind me, this guy, Wayne White. He did all the art for Pee Wee's Playhouse for like many years. He developed Pee Wee's Playhouse. He did like the whole Smashing Pumpkins uh, music video where it's like all that paper stuff coming in. He's a really cool guy. Anyway, he broke into the fine art world, about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And he had this like huge imposter syndrome behind it.
Yeah,
And
I
that's what
bet.
yeah, the doc is about that, and it's about like doing your art and feeling and like being true to who you are, and like all it's a really beautiful documentary that people with imposters, anybody that's an artist that's like going through that whole thing should watch. I made Allie watch it and she like texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, I was crying."
Thank
So,
you for that. I was writing it down. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, you
Your
should watch it. It's on like
your
Hulu and stuff.
husband should do a doc, or a boyfriend should do a doc on just the quilting community in general. It would be.
He he is dying to. I'm taking him to market in a few whenever it is at the end of
Are you going
October.
to the
When is it?
Houston market, or there's
Uh-huh.
a Houston market and then there's a Houston quilt show? and they're in two different
Okay, so
weekends.
market is for like people to buy, and
Okay.
festival is for like everybody to go to. So we're going to market, but we're going
Okay,
to
I'm
stay
gonna
one
go.
day for festival. Oh, you are? Okay,
I
we'll do
am.
something then. Okay,
Okay,
we
we'll go
should text.
get breakfast.
Yeah. My boyfriend wants to go so bad because he wants to do a doc on Quilt Market
Very cool. I've
and
never been.
QuiltCon. He had really? Oh, you're gonna die.
Uh-uh.
It's great. Like only wear tennis shoes. Like you're gonna walk so
Okay.
much and be standing all day long. You'll die. It's so much fun, but it's like you could walk the halls all day long for 4 days and never see everything. So it's
Did
a
has
lot.
has he gone to QuiltCon?
That's the other thing. So crazy story. Do you know who Zach Foster is, the
Uh-huh.
quilter?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had Zach make a quilt for his last movie premiere in
I
New
think
York
you
because
told
Zach
me
lives in New
about
York.
this.
Yeah, it looks so crazy. So he wants to interview Zach and like find like Zach does all the improv quilting world and is like really into all that stuff. So he
Sure.
wants to start with Zach, but then he wants to go to QuiltCon, he wants to go to market. He's like, I feel like so many people would watch this. And
Yeah.
think of and you know what people want to watch? Like wild out there people. Think of who's more wild and out there than quilters. Like,
Right.
you know?
Oh, QuiltCon last year was crazy. If there's any people that were at QuiltCon last year, what happens there stays there is all I'm gonna say. Last year it was, oh, whoa. But are y'all, so y'all are gonna go to Raleigh this year, or
Yeah,
is it gonna be?
yeah,
Okay, I'll be there too.
yeah. He's wanting to, oh, do you have anything in QuiltCon?
No, I mean submissions are, I think they end like next week or something,
Okay.
um, or soon. I'm not submitting anything. I don't have time for that. Maybe one of
Yeah,
these years.
all the kids are coming to your house when you you have no
I
time
know.
for.
Yeah.
Okay, I've taken up all your time. This was
No.
amazing. Will you please text me because that'd be so fun to do something with you at festival or market, whichever one it is. I forget.
Okay.
But yeah, text me
Okay.
when you're there and we'll make it happen.
Also, I've been meaning to ask you, random side
Yeah.
thing. I'm so sorry. So, do you have quilts hanging up at the shop?
We're getting ready to, believe it or not.
Okay.
I am installing these. They're really cool. They're like eye bolts with metal wire. And so the
Yes.
quilts will hang like a gallery. And so we're getting ready to install that in 2 weeks. I have someone coming out to do it. So then we're going to do like people, what I want to do is like people's like we'll have like five of your quilts or something, like be a little gallery of your quilts or whoever's.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, let me know. I've got
Yeah.
so many quilts. I've been wanting to like go to shops and try to see if someone wants to hang it up. So,
Yeah, what about two? Okay, we're never gonna end this interview.
yeah, I know. It's okay. I'm
What,
having a lot of fun. Let's just stay here. Okay.
what, what about if we had you come to a fun Friday and you can hang your quilts and sell your patterns?
That would be fun. I don't have paper patterns, but
So give them QR
people still buy
codes.
digital patterns. Yeah, I have QR codes on all of them.
Yeah, give them QR codes. Say you like this, or we could even have you talk about like, yeah, we'll come up with this whole thing. Alyssa,
Okay.
who does all my marketing, will come up with something. We have to
Okay.
get you involved. You're so cool.
I know. I'm just such an introvert. Like I'm just sewing and playing video games and I gotta get out more. I really want to come to this shop more. And you almost made me buy a long arm, so
All right, tell Casey I say hi too, because she'll laugh
okay, I
about
will
that
say
part.
you know what I'm talking about.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Christina. Thank
Okay,
you.
this is so fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
I love it. Bye.